In February 2026, two super yachts departed Dubai within 5 days of each other. The first, the Wanderlust, 85 meters long, worth an estimated $100 million, slipped through the Strait of Hormuz while the passage was still open and turned toward the Seychelles. The second, the Starlust, left 5 days later, heading in a completely different direction toward the Maldives. Yacht trackers and investigators watching the AIS signals quickly realized what they were looking at. One yacht was a decoy. The man allegedly behind both of them, a 47-year-old South African named Benjamin Mauerberger, was running from arrest warrants in Thailand, a $124 million asset freeze in Singapore, and a 2-year investigation by the journalists who had already broken one of the biggest financial scandals in history. He had spent over 2 decades building a shadow empire in Southeast Asia. He had allegedly laundered over $1 billion. He had gotten close enough to 2 former prime ministers to lend them his private jet and his yacht. And now, he is gone. This is the story of how a kid from Cape Town allegedly went from cold-calling pensioners to capturing a government. To understand Benjamin Mauerberger, you need to start with where he came from. Maurice Mauerberger, the family patriarch, was a self-made textile baron who co-founded the Ackermans retail chain, among other successful businesses. Today, the family is primarily known for its philanthropic initiatives, run through the Mauerberger Foundation Fund. It's a respectable family, a well-known family, the kind of Cape Town establishment name that opens doors. Benjamin Mauerberger had all of that behind him. In his early 20s, instead of going into the family business, he made his way to Bangkok. What he found there would define the next 25 years of his life. Bangkok in the late 1990s had a particular ecosystem: cheap office space, loose regulation, a city full of young, ambitious foreigners looking for an angle. They worked the phones from cheap office spaces, targeting investors in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and the United Kingdom before heading to the city's bars. Mauerberger allegedly started his own boiler room, which was raided by Thai police in 2001. A boiler room, for anyone unfamiliar, is simple. You call strangers. You pitch them stocks that are either worthless or don't exist. You collect the money, you disappear before they notice. He got himself involved in various telephone scam centers, telephoning old people and promising them massive investments and returns if only they would send over a few hundred or a few thousand of their hard-earned dollars. That quote is from Simon Allison of The Continent, describing the period. After the Bangkok raid, Mauerberger moved his operations. He set up Mauer Swiss Securities in Auckland, New Zealand. The New Zealand Securities Commission suspected that Mauer Swiss was running a boiler room operation which made unsolicited calls to people in New Zealand and Australia offering dubious share deals. The commission noted that in sentencing a cousin of Mauerberger, who was a director of Mauer Swiss, a New South Wales judge had described the firm's investment scheme as bearing all the depressing hallmarks of yet another barefaced scam on a large scale. Mauer Swiss went into liquidation in 2002. Mauerberger didn't show up when the commission came calling. In October 2003, Mauerberger was fined $30,000 and banned for 7 years as a broker by the New Zealand Securities Commission for his role in Mauer Swiss, an Auckland-based boiler room operation. He had already left the country. A few years later, regulators in the UK shut down another alleged stock fraud scam connected to Mauerberger and his brother Adam Mauerberger. By this point, a pattern was clear. Mauerberger would set up an operation. Regulators would catch up. He'd move on. But the operations kept getting bigger. At some point in the years that followed, Benjamin Mauerberger met a man named Yim Leek. Yim Leek is chairperson of BIC Group, son of a former Cambodian deputy prime minister closely aligned with Hun Sen, described as having deep family and political connections. This was not just a business contact, this was access to one of the most politically connected families in Cambodia. a country that by the 2010s had become the epicenter of something that investigators would later describe as one of the most damaging criminal industries in modern history. In 2018, Mao Berger and Yim Leek allegedly concocted a money laundering scheme in which parcels of prime Cambodian land were flipped to wealthy Chinese investors. That was the beginning. The two-bit scammer suddenly transformed into a financial kingpin, facilitating the movement of billions of dollars. Here's what you need to understand about where investigators believe the money actually came from. Scammers operate heavily guarded, multi-story buildings which house phone farm centers where they run Sha Zhu Pan scams, pig butchering, on a mass scale. The Chinese slang describes fattening victims with flattery and lies on Tinder, TikTok, and other internet venues, while using ChatGPT, malware, deepfake forgeries, and technological tricks to appear trustworthy. The operation is industrial, organized, horrifyingly efficient. The mostly Chinese-dominated scam compounds are exploiting more than 120,000 people from dozens of countries to staff them, mostly in Myanmar and Cambodia, according to international human rights groups and investigators. Many scam workers were kidnapped and tortured into fooling people online, while others eagerly chose to work for scammers in exchange for relatively high salaries. The money this generates is enormous. But dirty money is useless if you can't spend it. You need someone to clean it. Someone sophisticated enough to move it through legitimate businesses, listed companies, and financial systems without triggering alarms. That's where investigators allege Mao Berger came in. Investigators said the money trail from the scammers led to a financial handler, acting on behalf of Yim Leek, and then to Mao Berger to be channeled into legitimate business activities. In Cambodia, to launder huge amounts of money, they put bags of cash on private jets that get flown from Phnom Penh into Thailand. The clean destination for that money? Thai-listed companies, real estate, private aviation, and increasingly, political relationships. This is the part of the story that goes from financial crime to something much larger. Because what investigators allege Mao Berger did next wasn't just laundering money, it was buying influence at the highest possible level. Mao Berger cultivated connections across Thailand's business and political establishment. He appeared in photos with Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul, former Army Commander Jen Groom, Aparat Kong Sampong, and other prominent figures. But the most significant relationship was with Thaksin Shinawatra, the billionaire former Prime Minister of Thailand, political kingmaker, one of the most powerful figures in the country's modern history. Mao Berger owned a $100 million yacht, the Wanderlust, used to schmooze Chinese, Cambodian, and Thai businessmen. He was a constant presence at Thaksin's side. In meetings with global bankers and casino CEOs, the relationship went beyond socializing. Mao Berger bought a $60 million Bombardier Global 7500 private jet, which Thaksin Shinawatra began using. He even lent his Wanderlust yacht to Thaksin in December 2024 for an important diplomatic meeting with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Think about what that means. The sitting Prime Minister of Malaysia meeting with Thailand's most powerful political figure on a yacht owned by a South African, who is at this moment under investigation for laundering money from scam compounds where people are held against their will. Franz for Mao Berger also began to buy up stakes in Bangchak, Thailand's second-largest energy company. The plan, says a person aware of the matter, was for Bangchak to benefit from an agreement between Thaksin and Hun Sen to open up development of oil and gas reserves in contested waters in the Gulf of Thailand. He wasn't just laundering money, he was shaping energy policy between two nations. In 2024, Hun Sen appointed him and Yim Leek as official advisors. This was the apex of his power, dictating Thai policy, embedded in Cambodia and partner to powerful Chinese. A South African boiler room operator from Cape Town had made himself an official advisor to a former prime minister, a business partner to one of Cambodia's most powerful political families, and an operator with stakes in listed companies, private jets, and super yachts across Southeast Asia. In 2023, Tom Wright and Bradley Hope came across Mauerberger after he bought a Gulfstream private jet. Wright and Hope are not ordinary journalists. They were the Wall Street Journal reporters who broke the 1MDB scandal, the Malaysian sovereign wealth fund fraud that became one of the largest financial crimes in history, ultimately resulting in over $1 billion in US fines, and a Goldman Sachs settlement of $3.9 billion. If anyone knew what a transnational financial crime network looked like from the outside, it was them. We found records in Cambodia's corporate registry linking Eugene Tang to a property company with Yim Leek and the alias Ben Smith. We next profiled Mauerberger, his privileged childhood in Cape Town, his role in boiler room scams throughout the UK, Europe, and Australia in the 2000s, and his fateful meeting with Yim Leek. They started pulling threads. Efforts to reach Mauerberger at his now abandoned Bangkok office were unsuccessful, but their network of sources grew. They discovered he owned a $100 million yacht, the Wanderlust, used to schmooze Chinese, Cambodian, and Thai businessmen. In late September 2025, Whale Hunting published its investigation. The series ran for weeks. It alleged Mauerberger sat at the center of a $1.5 billion Chinese-Cambodian money laundering network. It published photographs of him with Thaksin. It documented the asset trail. The political fallout was immediate. On the 30th of September 2025, Thailand's parliament held a session in which opposition MP Rangsiman Rome cited the reports alleging Mauerberger had sought Thai nationality on October 22, 2024. But his application was denied due to incomplete documents. On the 21st of October 2025, Wright published an article detailing how Thailand's Deputy Minister of Finance, Vorapak Tanyawong's wife, Kanokporn and Mauerberger held shares in the same Singapore-based fund. Vorapak Tanyawong resigned on the 22nd of October 2025 after allegations that his wife was paid by Mauerberger's criminal network, the same network he had been appointed to investigate. A deputy finance minister, gone, one day after publication. Meanwhile, in the United States, legislators were paying attention. On the 19th of September 2025, the Dismantle Foreign Scam Syndicates Act was introduced to the US House of Representatives by Representative Jefferson Shreve, listing Mauerberger among foreign persons of interest in connection with scam syndicate operations. Mauerberger's alleged activities were also under scrutiny by the US Department of Homeland Security. In Singapore, authorities seized assets linked to one of Mauerberger's alleged front companies, Capital Asia Investments. The seizure reportedly totaled about $140 million. In Thailand, the civil court ordered the confiscation of more than 13 billion baht, approximately $390 million in assets linked to 4 scam network cases involving Mauerberger and other accused individuals. Police impounded assets worth over 10 billion baht after searching dozens of sites in 22 provinces, including 6 stock trading accounts with securities worth over 8 billion baht, 8 luxury vehicles, an 800 million baht yacht, cash in bank accounts, and 3 plots of land. Mauerberger did not wait to see what came next. In October 2025, Mauerberger fled Thailand for Dubai. Before he fled, Mauerberger issued a statement. Wright has sought to portray me as a fugitive criminal and to insinuate that my life's achievements and professional successes are rooted in money laundering, human trafficking, and call center scams. These are vile fabrications, entirely baseless and unsupported by any evidence. I have never committed any crime, nor am I a fugitive as falsely alleged. He filed a defamation lawsuit against Tom Wright. He dismissed the investigation as fiction created with the sole intention of destroying me and my family. On the New Zealand conviction, the one documented fact on the public record from the early 2000s, his position was that the relevant investigation by authorities had been concluded and determined that the matter does not constitute a criminal offence. Mauerberger's denials are part of the record. They should be heard. All of the allegations against him remain allegations, and he has not been convicted of any crime in connection with the scam network investigation. But the arrest warrants kept coming regardless. On the 26th of February 2026, Thailand's criminal court approved arrest warrants for Mauerberger, 47, and his Thai wife, Catalia Beaver, 40, on charges of joint fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and direct money laundering involving over 1 billion baht, approximately $30 million, related to a single unnamed foreign victim. Interpol issued a red notice. And then, the super yacht started moving. The vessel Wanderlust left Dubai on February 12, traveling through the Strait of Hormuz while that route was still open, and then continued down toward the Seychelles, where it was reportedly moored. Then the Starlust left Dubai 5 days later, on February 17, and traveled in a different direction toward the Maldives. 2 yachts, 2 directions, 1 decoy. The vessel, 85 meters long, worth $100 million, built by Superyachts in Perth, squeezed through the Strait of Hormuz just before regional conflict shut down the passage, then vanished into the Indian Ocean. As of the time of this video, Benjamin Mauerberger remains a fugitive. Let's step back and look at the scale of what's alleged here. Pig butchering scam compounds operations where people are trafficked and forced to defraud strangers online generate billions of dollars per year. That money is useless unless it can be cleaned and spent in the legitimate economy. The alleged role of a network like Mauerberger's isn't the scam itself, it's the infrastructure around the scam. The real estate, the listed company shares, the private jets, the political relationships that ensure nobody asks too many questions. Authorities moved to seize assets linked to Mauerberger and his associates, totaling over $410 million. And that's only what has been identified and seized so far. The whale hunting investigation, which triggered a deputy finance minister's resignation, a US congressional bill, international asset freezes, and Interpol involvement was started because 2 journalists noticed 1 private jet with an unclear funding source. 1 jet. The lesson of that is worth sitting with. Benjamin Mauerberger grew up with one of the most respected family names in South African business. His grandfather Morris co-founded the Ackermans retail chain, and today the family is primarily known for its philanthropic initiatives. He walked away from all of that, took the family name to Auckland, to Bangkok, to Phnom Penh, to the 28th floor of Gaysorn Tower, and then onto a super yacht heading somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Whether the full allegations against him are ever proven in a court of law remains to be seen. He maintains his innocence, his lawyers are fighting, his defamation suits are filed. But the asset freezes are real. The arrest warrants are real. The resigned ministers are real. The congressional bill is real. And somewhere between the Seychelles and the Maldives, 2 yachts are sitting in the water. 1 is a decoy. We just don't know yet which one.